Hello and welcome back to the channel. I wanted to take a few minutes to go over the new recording method that I've been using, primarily because I have a family member who is interested in using this method and I didn't get a chance to discuss it with them in person. So I'm just going to put it up as a video and hopefully it helps this person and other people that need the assistance. So the basic premise of what I've been trying to get to has been to make it so I don't have to do any video editing, because I really just detest video editing, especially because the only thing I really use it for is to put my logo on the video and then the occasional like and subscribe pop up and a couple of other little overlays that I do. So I wanted to figure out a way to make it so that as I was recording, those things popped up. So that was part of it. But the main thing I was trying to get to was I wanted to make it so that I could put cuts in my video to slice out all the boring stuff and only have the interesting things in without having to go back and record the entire thing and then go back and have to slice up my video to find the parts that are boring and then cut them out. So there are a couple of ways you can do this. You can either stop your recording and then start a new recording every time you want to skip over gameplay or whatever it is that you're doing. You record the interesting part and then you stop recording. And then you record another interesting section and then you stop recording. And then you just import all of your individual video clips in, throw transitions on them, and then render the video, and that's it. That is by far the most irritating way to do it, because you end up with, 5, 10, 15 individual video files that you end up having to pull in, do transitions in, and then you end up having to do the full render and all of that stuff. And it gets kind of irritating, especially if you're trying to do multiple separate videos at a time, not just creating individual clips that you're going to paste together, but maybe 5 or 6 versions of that. So if you're trying to do 5 videos in a day and each video has like 15 individual clips, that quickly becomes unmanageable. The other way you can do it is to pause and unpause your recording, which does keep you in one video file per session that you're doing, but then it also creates the problem of instantaneous transitions between one interesting section and another. So rather than having a nice crossfade or whatever it is that you're using to transition from one scene to another, you get an instant, oh, now we're in the next thing, and it's kind of jarring to watch. So I wanted to find a way to have my cake and eat it too, basically, and I did. I found it. I wanted to have it set up so that I could pause my video, but before the video actually paused, it fade out into black, and then when I unpause, it fades back into whatever scene I'm in. And this is absolutely accomplishable using what is called the Advanced Scene Switcher, which is a plugin you can download for OBS, and I will try to remember to put the link if I can find it and put it in the description or whatever. But it's basically a macro manager. It's a macro creator that allows you to create a bunch of, if this thing happens, then do this. That's basically how this screen works. There's this main screen over here that you don't really need to worry about too much. But this is the list of macros that you can create over here in this window. And then this top little block up here is basically this checks to see if something is true. And then if that thing is true, whatever you set that up to be, then it does whatever you tell it to do down here in this section. Okay? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to set it up so that I could just press a single key, and then it would instantaneously fade out to black, pause the video, and then hold it there until I was ready to bring it back. And then I wanted to be able to press that same key to bring it back out of black and back into my game. So here's how I got it done. You can just copy this word for word if you want. It'll work for you. But it requires a little bit of explanation. So the first thing that I need you to understand is that while we are trying to pause, and while OBS does have a pause function, you do not want to use that function as your hotkey. So what I'm talking about is this right here, this pause and unpause recording where you can set a keybind to it. You do not want to use this. And the reason for that is that this keybind here is separate from anything else that you're trying to do, and if you use these boxes here as your pause and unpause function, then regardless of what your macros are set up to do, the recording will pause as soon as you press the key. So that kind of defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do, because what we want is that while we're playing, we want to pause the video, And then we want to, hold on a second. Are you guys able to actually see? I just want to make sure you're actually able to see the macro window that I have up here. You want to have the scene transition first to your pause screen, which is going to be a blank black screen, that scene that we're going to set up. You want to transition first and then pause the video. And if you use the pause, unpause keybind that's in OBS, it's going to immediately pause, regardless of any other things that you're trying to do. So what you need to do, and let me actually make sure that you guys can actually see when I pull up my settings here. Is that popping up? Can you see that? Okay, I just want to make sure you can actually see it because I'm trying to hide all of this like endless corridor effect. What you want to do is that every time you create a hotkey reference down here, it will create a new keybind down here that you can bind to it, and then you use this one instead of this one up here for your pausing and unpausing, okay? So I know that was a lot, but I just wanted to make it very clear. You do not want to use the OBS pause and unpause function because that will bypass your macro and just pause the video on you. So that being said, the way that this all works is that you set up individual macros to do individual things, and I'll explain a couple of these so you understand how they work, but the pause and unpause function are my first two here. So here's how it works. We set it up so that we say we create a conditional if statement right here. If the current scene, these two reference if scene, this selects the scene option. If the current scene is game, which is my recording screen over here, and hotkey whatever is pressed. So if both of those things, if you're on the scene and you press the hotkey, then the first thing that happens is we do a scene switch. We switch from the current scene to the pause screen. Right, you designate that down here using whatever transition is attached to the scene you're switching to. That's what this one means. And then you can set the duration for however long you want to have it, right? So you're going to do a scene transition, and then you're going to pause the recording. And the reason that's important is that you want the recording to pause after you've done the transition, so you get that nice little fade away into darkness, okay? So that's the first part of it. Unpausing it is just the complete opposite of that, right? You basically just swap all of the options around. If the current scene is on your pause screen and you press that same keybind, then you unpause the recording first so that you can capture the transition from your pause screen back to your game screen, switch scene to the game scene using whatever transition is attached to the scene you're going to, and then you can set whatever duration you want. Okay? So that's how all of this works. Pausing is just going from the current game, and you press your current scene and you press the pause, you press the keybind, you switch from the current screen to the black screen and pause the recording. Unpausing is if you're in the pause screen and you press the key, you unpause the recording first and then you switch back to your game scene so that you capture the fade back in. So basically the way this works is you're just delaying the pause function so that you can first capture the fade out and then capture the unfade back in, or fade back in, or whatever it is that you want to call it. Okay? So this is how I have it set up so that I can pause my video and then unpause my video and get a sort of transition between. You're not going to be able to get crossfades where you have one image bleeding into another image or anything like that, but it does give you the ability to be able to have a type of fade that isn't just a jarring, we're in one frame and then now we're in the next frame, we're in something else. It gives you the ability to do that. The only other thing that I wanted to figure out was how to get my logos to show up. My logo to show up. And basically the way I did that is if I am recording for however many seconds I want it to be, then I want the current, there's an item on here called scene item visibility. It's down here, scene item visibility, which basically looks at items that are in your scene, any of the sources you have over here. It provides a list of those. So you just click the drop down list and it'll be one of these. I found my logo and I wanted to basically toggle the visibility on my logo to be on. And then I have another if statement that says once we hit 10 seconds, just hide that same thing. Does that make sense? So the if statement just checks for how long have you been recording? Oh, it's been 5 seconds. Let's change let's show the logo, and then after 10 seconds we hide the logo and it goes away. And I'm using a Luma transition for that, which is actually attached to my logo. I believe there's a, yeah, you can set a show transition and a hide transition. I'm using a Luma wipe, and you just pick which option you like the best, and that'll make it appear or disappear. And then the last part is, this one was a little bit more complicated, because I want my like and Patreon and Discord things to show up, not too often, but often enough that people will see it. So I had to go a little bit weird with this because I couldn't figure out there's a recording time down here that you can see, and you would think that the recording time that you see here, if recording for exactly X number of whatever, would be attached to this right here, but no, it doesn't work that way. As soon as you press the record button, regardless of whether you pause or anything else, whatever it's not attached to whatever this number says. It's a timer. It's an internal timer that's set to when you started recording. So even if you pause, your macros are still going to happen if you're basing it off of this recording function here. So what I had to do is I had to set it up so that if I'm in a scene for at least X number of seconds, and the current scene and I'm in the game scene, and I'm actually recording because I don't want it to just pop up when I'm not recording, then I want to show the like and subscribe, and then I just had to go through every X number of seconds. So I wanted it to show up for 4 seconds, right? So if I've been recording for at least 180, if I'm in the game scene for at least 180 seconds and I'm recording, show the like and subscribe overlay, and then basically 4 seconds later, it's all the same. 4 seconds later, hide it, and then I just adjusted the timing for all of these so that they show up one right after the other. It's all the same. Okay, so I know that was a lot. If you need to rewatch it to kind of get the idea of how these are going, feel free to go back and do that. I will go through all of it one more time real fast, just so hopefully it all ties it together. For the pause, you need to take your active scene and you press the hotkey. Then you switch from the scene you're on to whatever pause screen you want to use using a transition. And that scene that you're transitioning to needs to be a blank screen. And then you pause the recording. Then when you want to come back and record again, you switch from the pause scene by using the hotkey. Unpause the recording first, so you record the transition from black back to your video. Then back to your game or recording scene using the transition that's attached to the scene you're going to, in whatever duration you want to do. For your logo, you just track if you've been recording for 5 seconds, because realistically, you're not going to pause in the first 5 seconds. So this works for your logo because you're not going to pause after 5 seconds. If you've been recording for like exactly 5 seconds, then you want to show whatever scene item visibility thing you're trying to show. And then however long you want your logo to stay up, you just change the time on that and then hide it on the next copy of this. Then for any of the scene items you want to show up at random times, you can either set a timer, you can set an independent timer that will be based off of when you're recording. You'll have to figure that out because I didn't feel like doing it. Or you can do it like I did, and you can just say, every time I come back to my recording, every time I go back to actively recording, wait for 3 minutes, check that I've been recording, and then show my like and subscribe, and then 4 seconds later, hide my like and subscribe, and then go through all of that stuff. Okay? So I know that was a lot. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to figure it out. This is as clear as I can explain it to you, just showing you how it works. Again, thank you very much for your time. Hope you got something out of that. Click the like button if you learned something today. Subscribe to the channel so you know when the next of my videos comes out and they show up in your feed. And I am looking for ideas for exclusive content I can create for those of you who would like to support the channel, because you should get something for your money, right? So leave a comment down below with your ideas. Again, thank you very much for your time. Hope you had a good one, and I will see you for the next video.